Hi, welcome to another episode of the Ideal Business Podcast. It's been producing this podcast at a location called Policeman's Point up in the northeast coast of Tasmania. So today, something that I'm going to talk about, and it's one of the important criteria that I believe in determining how ideal your business is the idea and the concept of resilience. And the definition of resilience is the capacity to recover from difficulties. So it's, in essence, it's a sort of an ingrained toughness, and I think it's an important characteristic or criteria to move towards, because you can have, when things are going well, it's not something that seems that important, but when things don't go well, makes you a bit concerned about where it's all going to end up, and resilience can build more confidence for you in that area. As a business owner, if you've been in business a long time, I've been in business over 3 decades. I don't really do superannuation in the typical sense because it's always been me and my own businesses. And so, the businesses that I build are a form of superannuation, is really where I'm going to generate revenue when I no longer want to be active in doing that. And so it's important that, like any investment or any asset that you've built up, that you can be confident that no matter what sort of comes in the general direction of the business or what events take place, that you're actually able to sustain, not only sustain and potentially thrive through that process. And we've all sort of seen the statistics of how the likelihood of business failure at different levels, and so typically at first year it's closer to actually 80%, 75-80% of businesses don't really make it through. Once you get to year 5, likelihood of success drops to lower than 50%. When you get past year 10, it drops again. And so it's pretty clear that if a business is able to get to that sort of long-term view of 10 years or 15 years, it has resilience. It would have gone through a number of different business cycles, and it's got the ability to navigate and manage that and not come out the other end stronger, which is really what you want from a whole point of view of a business. And the sort of things that, and the way that I look at resilience is it's events that take place that weren't necessarily handled the best, or you didn't have mechanisms in place, and then what you do is you put things in place that will cultivate and support the concept of resilience. And these can include things like, how do you handle complaints with customers, major systems failures. Our businesses are very technology based, so what happens if things go wrong? Cyber attacks, regulatory or legislative changes, fraud, within the business, it's happened. Major bad debt events that might take place, legal actions against your business. These are all existence. And then there's external forces that we have no control over as well. Might be, these pandemics, financial crisis, whatever they are. So at the end of the day, it's always about, for me, the idea of resilience is being confident that really no matter what comes out of left field, there's a mechanism for managing that and being able to move through it, and being able to not only survive that sort of those activities, actually thrive and look at it as an opportunity for growth and expansion of the business. So a couple of things to consider with resilience, and how do you go about strengthening that within your own business. One of the things that we do in a business, we've got, when something isn't going that well, something needs attention, whether it can be leads or sales or cash position, or so many different areas that might need technology solutions or the development. If it's not going that well, and the stats and the numbers relating to it aren't that great, we have a process which we utilise, which effectively puts whatever it is in what we call danger. And one of the first things you can do to build resilience is communicating and engaging your team with these type of events that occur. An example might be, and you might be uncomfortable doing that, you might be having cash flow difficulties for various reasons. And often business owners will go, well, I don't want anyone to know about it, because it's, particularly my team, because if they get wind of it, then, they might actually, people think we might be going to fail, or, the team might be getting uncomfortable, the security of their jobs, all that sort of stuff. But in reality, that's sort of counterintuitive if you think about it, because the people that can have impact on it and resolve whatever's taking place is your team. And so the more transparent and open that you are with your team, and the more that you engage them in any of this sort of process, in any of these challenge processes, is going to end up having a mechanism for creating solutions that will resolve the issues on hand. And that, of course, builds resilience. So that's one of the ways that I think it's really important, is to engage, communicate major challenges with your team, and have a process to do that. And we've got a bit of a process about how we do that. I remember a few years ago we had a real issue with cash flow, and so we basically engaged the team, and everyone sort of looked at what they could do to get involved in it. We had money outstanding, we had bad debts that were sort of not being addressed. We looked at how we can improve our sales and terms of payments, all those sorts of things. But the team sort of got involved in it, how they could impact on it, and that managed us to come out of that with better process and systems. So that's an example where, engaging the team, even though you might be intuitively, you think, well, I don't know, it's too personal, I don't want to share this information about some of the things that are going wrong. Because typically in business, it's always about looking good, looking successful, things going well, but we all know that's not actually the case. Businesses have lots and lots of challenges, So that's one thing that's really important from a resilience point of view, and being able to deal with those sorts of situations. Another high risk area that I think exists for any business, and when I work with clients, I look at this very closely, is the idea of having too many eggs in one basket. This, from my perspective, it introduces a lot of risk in the business, and it makes it very hard for you to have a resilient baseline if you're very dependent on, say, one client for a large percentage of your revenue. Typically for me and for my businesses, I never want any one client to make up more than 10%, the absolute maximum 10% of my business revenue, absolute maximum, ideally closer to 5%, regardless of, and it can be really attractive, because the ability to have a client and you can get 60, 70, 80% of your work from that client, it's easy, you don't have to do marketing, you've got ongoing revenue flow. That makes me very uncomfortable, in the sense that you've got a lot of power with one client, and that can relate to what their needs are, cash flow, payment terms, all sorts of things. So too many eggs in one basket is definitely an issue, and I would really highly recommend that you don't really do that. You look at spreading your eggs, if you like. So and it can also be maybe market segments. So when you think about eggs in baskets, it could be having too few baskets, and the baskets might be too few clients. So you've got a lot of your revenue coming from a very, very small number of clients, which can expose you to pretty much overnight changes. Example, with the pandemic going on, a lot of people have cut back on spending in certain areas. If your business was one of those potential areas, then you could have lost a large chunk of your business revenue. So that's one type of basket that you don't want to have too many eggs in. Another potential one is location. We don't normally talk about that, but one of the ways of building resilience is spreading your base of your business. So you could be based in a particular town or a particular city, and you have all your work coming from that location. Once again, it's ideal in the sense that you think, well, I'm here, I know the area, I know the locality, there's plenty of work, all that type of stuff. But you can be more susceptible to local events that take place. Being spread, and that's been a strategy for us. Our businesses are both national and one of our businesses operates international. It means you've got a marketplace that when one goes up, one goes down, you're able to sort of move your way through that because of the fact that you've got spread. So you don't have, so this basket, too many eggs in one basket, is location basket. just think about it from that perspective. Other things that can really create, like baskets, is dependency on a particular program, software, or team members that could be a real issue for you if something happened to that, whether it was a supplier, whether it was a particular bit of software, or whether it was a team member. So just being conscious of that, and how would you manage and how would you deal with that, how much control, and what's the likelihood of something taking place. So you can think about, so when you think about the concept of too many eggs in one basket, I don't know what for you, when I hear that term, too many eggs in one basket, we've actually got chickens at home. We collect eggs, and I've done that a few times where for whatever reason we forgot to collect eggs for a few days, and we might end up with 15 eggs. You go down to collect them. I don't have something to carry them, so I might roll them up in my t-shirt and put the 15 eggs in there. And invariably, before I make it back to the house, I've broken a couple of eggs. So, and potentially, if I tripped, I would have lost all those eggs. So that term, too many eggs in one basket, is about spreading and building, and it's a core concept when you're thinking about the idea of building resilience, and the end outcome, I guess, for you as a business owner is knowing that you have resilience. You've gone through, it's quite, it's a real positive outcome, or it's a real reason for sort of celebration when you look at events that have taken place and we've actually made our way through those. We're a stronger business, we're a better business, and we've increased the resilience of the business. And it gives you, every time you go through these sorts of events, whether it's a global financial crisis, whether it's something relating to your sector, whether it's a legislative change, whether it's something like a pandemic or whatever it is, and you're able to come through the other end, there's no doubt those sort of situations are very tough. They really test your business model and really can cause a bit of stress, but if you can come out through those cycles and you apply some of these processes and systems, you've effectively built more resilience, and it gives you more confidence about being able to handle situations like that, or events that take place, or anything that might happen within your business in the future. It's a really good outcome. So that's the idea of resilience, and I think, how do you currently feel about your business? If I've asked you, how resilient do you feel your business is on a scale of 0 to 10? What would that number be? If you're up around the 7 or 8, it's pretty good. If you're at 5, it's probably not. If you're less than 5, it's probably an area that you want to be looking at how you can build more resilience, and that will give you more peace of mind. So hopefully that highlights some thoughts around the idea of resilience, why it's important, and how you can go about building more within your business. There's other things that we have and tools that we utilise, which I'll share with you about that process. Thanks for listening to another episode, and I look forward to catching up with you in another episode of the Ideal Business Podcast. Thank you.